Woburn. It is feeling like a beautiful spring day, so I have lots of energy. I apologize in advance. That probably means I'm going to talk too fast, but I'll try and control myself. Today, we are talking with Mayor Concannon, as always, and have some important things to chat about. We're also going to be talking about an awesome basketball fundraiser, so we'll be talking to the team about that. And we'll be connecting with school committee member Jessie Wetzel and talk about some of the things that she's learned in her time. But of course, we'll also talk a little bit about where we are with redistricting and anything else that's happening. So welcome, everyone. Welcome, Mayor Concannon.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I had the chance this weekend to check out the tree sale that the Conservation Committee does. I used it as an excuse to bring my dog Luna into the center of town, and we sniffed around and had some good fun seeing all those trees find homes.
Very nice.
So this week, we're hosting our second town hall, and I thought it might be good to remind folks where and when that will be.
Sure. So it's this Thursday night, May 2nd at 6 p.m. Downstairs in the council chamber. And as you said, this is the second one. We did have one back a couple of months ago. It was well attended. We had a good crowd in the chamber, and we also had some people joining us online. And I know we offer that opportunity again this time online. People can find the information on the city website. There's a link. And we're really looking forward to it. One of the things we talked about during the campaign was making sure we get out there more and interacted more directly with the residents. And we're trying to find opportunities to do that, whether it's at events or at organized meetings. And we felt that the town hall was an option that people could have to stop in and ask questions directly of the mayor. So I'm looking forward to it. We had a good time the last time, and hopefully we get a good crowd again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. People always ask really important questions, so I'm glad. And I encourage folks to tune in who have questions. And also, if there are lots of folks who tune in and just listen, and that's okay too. And we hope to see you in person. Is always my preference. If not, there is a broadcast link on the city calendar that you can use. I'm going to try and accept questions on the broadcast this time, but I just want to forewarn everyone, if you have questions and you can make it in person, I'd strongly recommend that, because the broadcast always has a little bit of technology that we can't quite always control, and it's a little harder to guarantee that we'll see those questions, but we're going to give it a try, and hopefully that will work.
Great.
So, yeah. One of the things that we know people have been asking a lot about is the MBTA Communities Law. And we'll spend more time talking about this in depth down the road, but I thought it'd be helpful in preparation for town hall and some upcoming other meetings that are happening to just give you an opportunity, Mike, to just at a high level talk about what that is.
Well, so there is more information available on the website. We have a frequently asked questions page, and people will start to hear more about this at upcoming planning board meetings and city council meetings. So I'll try not to get too deep into the weeds. Generally speaking, people should realize that this is a state law that has been passed to encourage multifamily housing in the area of MBTA train and bus stations. That's a summary, essentially. So what's important to note is that the law doesn't require additional housing units be built. That's the goal and the hope, but the requirement is that every community that's listed as an MBTA community must create a zone, a zoning ordinance that allows for, by right, certain multifamily housing within the area of a transit station. So again, I'm summarizing quite a bit, but if you look at the Anderson Regional Transportation Center, imagine a half-mile radius where potentially there's carved out 50 acres or so that would someday potentially allow for up to 2,600 multifamily units. Again, I'll caution and remind that there's not a requirement that any of those units be built. The city's compliance would be based on creating a zone that would allow for those units to be built by right. We are working on a draft ordinance that would put us into compliance. And our planning director, John Cashell, and his team are working with members of the planning board, as well as members of the city council, to come up with that draft that would then be presented to each of those boards for their review and their input and their tweaking and changing and ultimately their votes. Again, the goal is compliance. The deadline is the end of the year. People who are paying attention to local media, Globe, Herald, are probably familiar with the issue, and they realize that there's at least a couple of communities who have, as of now, chosen not to comply. Milton is the lead case, and there's some lawsuits pending regarding that. A couple of other communities at first blush have not complied as yet, but I don't think they've missed their deadline yet. Woburn is seeking to comply by creating an ordinance that would work, but would also work for Woburn. So again, the frequently asked questions are available on the city website, and people will hear much more about this at upcoming planning board and city council meetings.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's probably worth noting there are lots of communities who have already complied and met the requirement as well. And
Right.
the next public meeting is happening on May 7th. So next week's city council meeting, and our planning director will be there and answering questions about the process as well. So yeah. Thanks.
Available to talk to the council and answer any questions they might have at this point. And members of the public are welcome to attend that meeting as well. There'll be a series of opportunities for people to weigh in and to learn more about this and to offer their opinions.
Yeah, thank you. Now, more close to home and more close to being done. Last week, we published our street sweeping schedule. And I know that they've been out and about already working hard, cleaning the streets up from the winter mess that's always left behind. We also have a paving schedule that's in process. And I thought we've had a few people calling in asking when that might be ready as well. So I wanted to just get an update on the process there.
Yep. So we are working on that paving schedule. As you mentioned, the street sweeping schedule is underway. Each ward has about a week or so, a week and a half maybe. And that runs from mid-April to late June. We try to be fair in mixing up that schedule each year so that it's not Ward 1 all the way to Ward 7. It changes each year to, just to mix it up and be fair to everybody. So that's underway. The paving schedule is close to being finalized. We've had a series of meetings. I've mentioned this before. The driver in that is a scientific analysis of our roads that determines which roads are in the worst shape. And there's a series of factors that all add up to a list. The next step is to work with our utility partners to see if there's any upcoming work scheduled for any of those highlighted streets so that we can be, smart about it and not pave a road next week that we're planning on digging up to put gas in next fall. And then the third step is a common sense review where our DPW superintendent, city engineer, and others just apply some common sense to the list. And we also try to organize areas of the city to be done at a time so we can minimize mobilization and demobilization costs that would be better spent on the roads themselves. So I would expect getting that list finalized in the next couple of weeks, and we'll make sure we share it, and people will start to see the work underway probably later this summer.
Great. One of the things that you've talked a lot about and we talked a lot about on the show is information sharing and really getting everybody engaged and involved in the community. And one of the ways we hope to engage new residents is a new resource if we've started to draft and it's almost done, which is a welcome kit to give new so they know where their parks are and how to register to vote and all the things that we need to do when we first move into a community. So for those of us who have been here for a long time, it all feels like things we know, but for someone who's new to our community, it's sometimes challenging to navigate looking for those things. So we put that together, and there's some limited advertising available, and I thought it might be good to let people know where they can learn more for any of the local businesses who might want to get involved.
Sure, it's a great idea, and Woburn prides itself on being welcoming in every case, whether it's new businesses, new families, new students. Woburn's always been that way, and this is just an opportunity to get the word out a little bit more to those new arrivals so they know where to turn for help. And if there's a business that's looking to advertise or publicize their efforts to those new arrivals, they can reach out to community outreach at cityofwoburn.com. And we look forward to working with our business partners to make sure that we're presenting our best foot and we are making sure that people feel welcome when they get to Woburn. We do similar things on the business side for new businesses. Casey Haggerty in planning and economic development has taken the lead there. But this is all about just making sure people feel welcome when they get to Woburn and they can assimilate and join in all the good things that are happening here right off the bat.
Excellent. Thank you. Before I let you go, the last thing I want to talk about is we have a busy spring weekend ahead. There's lots of stuff happening across the city. I thought there was sort of 3 things in particular that we might want to let folks know about.
Yep. So there's the citywide yard sale, which they can find information on the website. Everyone can participate. Hopefully it's a nice sunny day like today where people can make their way around the city and pick up some bargains, and other people can maybe empty out their garage in the basement. Another event is the St. John's Church is hosting a health fair on Saturday. And I believe that information is available as well on the website. And then lastly, Conservation Day is Saturday. And we've been celebrating Earth Week, Earth Day, and this is just a continuation of that focus on the environment in our community. Conservation Day tends to be focused down at the Horn Pond area. So we would welcome volunteers and people who want to come down and help clean up the pond Saturday morning, sometime around 9. I'll be down there myself every year. The Lions Club focuses our efforts on Lions Park on the shores of Horn Pond. We have a good group coming down there. And then we also gather to cook for all of the volunteers. So there will be food available down at Lions Park, free of charge. There's usually a donation requested. And we get a chance to gather as a group after the work is done. And so we welcome anyone who's interested in stepping up and helping out to join us at any of those events on Saturday.
That sounds wonderful. I think the health fair is probably not on the city website because it's technically not a city event. But if you email community outreach, I'm happy to pass along the flyer. There's also a banner outside City Hall that has some information as well if you happen to be driving or walking by that area. But great resource and lots of great things happening, and rain or shine, people will be out there working hard trying to keep the pond clean and getting rid of or getting new treasures, right? So I know my husband prefers me to give away that rather than bring more home.
Yeah, I think the net for Saturday for most people is less stuff, but again, there's probably a treasure or two out there, so it's worth perusing.
Absolutely. I know those yard sales will be really busy. So thank you for joining us. Next up, I'd love to welcome Lauren and Jimmy to the discussion.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we're so Jimmy, is Jimmy okay? I had you down as James, but then I saw your name was listed as Jimmy, and I want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, Jimmy's better. I always gotta switch it just to make the Zoom sets it up to my formal name. So
yeah, well, wonderful. Well, we're so glad you're here. You're both here from Macka's Mission. And before we talk about the fundraiser that's upcoming, just maybe Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the mission of the organization is for those who might not be familiar?
Yes, thank you. So we are a local nonprofit organization based out of Woburn, and our mission really is to raise awareness about individuals with a substance use disorder, so individuals that are in recovery, and really, reduce the stigma around mental illness. So we also work to raise funds for individuals to support their recovery. And we've been able to do that, very well over the past few years and help a lot of local people and local organizations like ourselves.
Well, we're so glad you're here. Jimmy, tell us a little bit about the basketball tournament that's coming up.
yeah, I'll give a quick rundown. And so really it's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. People can sign up and have teams of up to 5 players. It's standard 3-on-3 rules that people are generally used to. It starts at 10 a.m. and it runs until late morning for some, and for the people that kind of continue to play, late afternoon. And we collaborate very closely with the Boys and Girls Club. They're very generous to allow us to use their facilities to host this tournament. And so we can accommodate up to 32 teams. Everyone gets up to 3 games, and we really try to set it up to be accessible and accommodating to all. We take care of the referees, the scorekeeping, the tracking, everything. So it's really just up to you to show up and play and have fun. From skill levels of all and ages, broad ranges. So we really encourage everyone to get involved. It does get exciting and competitive towards the end as we kind of winnow down the bracket. So there is fun. There is some fun, exciting competition. But again, like Lauren mentioned, our mission with this really is to raise awareness and spread the word and just generally build connections and community to support individuals in recovery. So that's really our ultimate goal from this tournament.
Well, I love it. Now, what day is it? Remind us what date it's happening.
Yeah, so this is going to be June 2nd, June 22nd. It's a Saturday, and it's going to be again at the Boys and Girls Club. The games start at 10 a.m. People generally start coming in around 9:30. There's a lot of other stuff going on too, snacks you can grab and things of that sort. And so, yeah.
I love it. Lauren, where can people register to participate in the tournament?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, www.mackasmission.com, on our events page, there is a link to register, and it's a simple form that you have to fill out. Just looking for, team names and shirt sizes, and it really only takes a couple minutes to fill out. You can also go on our social media, either Facebook or Instagram, and we have links to the registration form there as well.
That's amazing. It looks to be a great day. And Lauren, anything that for those who maybe aren't basketball players, how can they get involved and support your mission?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved. So also on our website, again, on the events page, there is an option to become a sponsor for the event, and we have multiple different sponsorship levels available for businesses and for families. So that's one way. We also, again, we're a 501c3 organization, so we accept donations of any kind. We have, PayPal or Venmo. The other thing that we've, really seen a lot of is just people coming and families coming and just individuals around the community coming in just to watch the basketball. So at the event, we do have a lot of great raffles. So you could come buy some raffle tickets. We do have food, a concession stand. This year we are going to have an ice cream truck and some face painting and some other activities for the kids to get involved. So even just, it's a free event for all spectators. So even just, coming in to stop in and say hello and see what it's all about, we appreciate any kind of support.
That sounds wonderful. Lots of fantastic ways to come and get involved and have some fun. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you in the audience, I believe it's next week, if not next week, the week after, we have our new city resource, which is a substance use and mental health coordinator, which is a new full-time position in our city. We're super excited to meet Mackenzie. She'll be joining us, and you'll learn a little bit more about her role and how she's supporting Macka's Mission and other organizations around the city and helping those who are in recovery or need help to get there.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy, Lauren. I look forward to coming and cheering. You won't see me on the basketball court. You'll all be relieved to know that. But I cheer very well, and so we'll come out, and I look forward to that.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Look forward to it.
And today we're going to wrap up with school committee member Jessie Wetzel. Welcome, Jessie.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to see you. You've now been, 3 months or 4 months now on the school committee. And, in that process, I'm sure you've learned a lot. Tell us a little bit about what you've learned now that you've been well indoctrinated in the swing of things.
Sure, absolutely. Yes. Into my 4th month now, which is kind of hard to believe. And yes, learned a ton. Honestly, I don't expect to ever stop learning. There's always something new to learn. And I think honestly, the list of things I learned is so long. I'd rather highlight a little bit more of some fun facts about the school committee that I think it's important for the public to know. Some of this stuff a lot of people might know already, but I think it's just always good to kind of chat about that. And it's some things that I learned as well after joining the school committee. So just some fun facts, if you will. So all school committee meetings are public, and school committee generally scheduled meetings are twice a month. And it's the second Tuesday and the last Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. And we always meet at the Joyce Middle School. And there's always an opportunity for public comment at every school committee meeting. And be mindful, though, that is the beginning of the school committee meeting. So the first thing on the agenda after we call the meeting to order, do the Pledge of Allegiance, would be public comment. So if you do plan to publicly comment, just try to make sure you get there by 7 o'clock. And if you can't make it in person to a school committee meeting, they're also all broadcasted by Woburn Public Media Channel, and that's live streamed, or you can watch it at your own convenience if 7 o'clock is not a great time for you. And along with the school committee, there's 6 different subcommittee meetings, and those subcommittee meetings sometimes happen once a month, sometimes more often, sometimes less. It really depends on the time of the year, but all of those are also open to the public. Those are not recorded, but you can read meeting notes from those if you're not able to attend. And you can find that information both on our city website. You can also go to Woburn Public Schools website. And if you go under the district tab, there's a tab for school committee. And on that site, you'll find like a list of all the members. You'll find a list of all of our upcoming meetings, all of our past meetings, all of the meeting minutes, as well as all the subcommittee meetings, and contact information for all school committee members. So just, I think, some important facts to know, and certainly some things I didn't know prior to becoming a school committee member. I guess, though, the biggest thing I've learned is really so much more about our community. And I attribute that a lot to, frankly, the public comment at school committee meetings, as well as just talking with people. And I've gotten to learn a lot of ins and outs of the schools that my kids don't attend, which has been really wonderful and is really giving me a better understanding about the schools and about what my role is inside of them as a school committee member.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Those are certainly important facts. And if you subscribe to the calendar on the city website, you also get a weekly email that'll tell you what public meetings are happening, including the school committee public meetings that are happening. So it's a great way to remind myself where I need to be when, and those agendas are usually very helpful. I often watch the school committee in my sweatpants with my legs up in an armchair and usually some chocolate next to me. So I definitely do that, but I've also come in and done public comment, and it is sometimes, I know people are a little nervous, but it's a welcoming environment and a respectful one. And so I think if you do have something that you want to express, there's always an opportunity to do that. We can't talk without talking about redistricting, and I will not, because this is a complex issue and the school committee has had many meetings and will continue to have meetings on this in the public forum. I don't want to rehash that, but what I thought might be helpful, Jessie, is to get your perspective. There are some people who have expressed concern that, wow, we're moving really fast on something that's really big and complex, and we've been talking about this for years, and wow, there's just so much. And I know that everybody feels the urgency and the need, but it can feel a little overwhelming. You know, can you sort of share what you want those folks to know about the diligence that the school committee is doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of talked about it a little bit already, Samantha, but this is something we have been talking about for a while. It's kind of like we placed a Band-Aid over an issue for multiple years. A Band-Aid only works so well before it doesn't work. I think we also need to keep in mind why we're doing this. We're doing this for the kids that are in the school now. We're doing this for the staff that are in the school now. Every day that we wait and we don't do something, that's another day we get closer to the Malcolm White losing a library, to kids being educated at the Goodyear in hallways because we don't have a resource room, or to an IEP meeting being held in a space that might not necessarily be a private space. So those are all things that we need to think about while we think about this redistrict. And also, the education is changed since the last time we redistrict, which was the late 80s. And the city of Woburn has also changed since the late 80s. So our schools also need to reflect that change. And we're not looking at an issue where we don't have space in our schools. We're really looking at the students aren't equally distributed. So we're not seeing an equity of distribution throughout the district. So I feel like if we keep waiting and waiting and waiting, things aren't going to magically change. And the school committee the administration and our consultant, Dr. Jerry McKibben, and his team have done a lot of work and really are putting a lot of effort in to make this successful. And some other documents that have been put together as well. Dr. Crowley and his team put together a frequently asked questions document that answers a lot of people's questions and hopes to make people feel more comfortable about why we're doing this and while it really is so important and the time is kind of now. And Ellen Crowley, she's the vice chair of the school committee. She also put together presentations through the resource subcommittee. And that really talks about the history of when we started talking about this, which was about 2019 to now, and what's really brought this to our attention as we have to act at this point. And if you go inside of our schools, especially some of the ones that really you're seeing an overcrowding in, the Hurl Wyman, the Malcolm White, and the Goodyear, you'll notice some of the things I talked about there, like my oldest daughter's at the Goodyear, and I've been down those hallways and I've seen those tables, and that's challenging for kids to learn in an environment when they're not in a space that is comfortable. Potentially, if you have kids walking down a hallway, well, also kids are trying to learn, it's hard. So I think it's not a new issue anymore. We've been talking about it for a while. And at this point, we need to move forward with it. With respect, I understand emotions run high. I've had people reach out to me, some of them my kids' friends that are very nervous about moving, and that would make my child, she'd be sad if she lost some of her friends. I mean, I do understand that, but I also think we need to keep in mind why we're doing this and while it's so important, and we're doing it for the good of the community. While looking at the best for our city and for our schools.
Well, thank you for that. And I know there'll be upcoming presentations about that, so people should keep an eye on those agendas for those public meetings. What committees are you on? So we know that each school committee member obviously represents the overall school committee, but you also serve in various committees.
We do. Yeah, so everybody serves on 3 separate subcommittees, except for the chair, who doesn't serve on any subcommittees as he's very busy doing chair things. So I'm chair, and then we all chair one of the subcommittees. So I chair the Student Services and Achievement Subcommittee, which encompasses special education. And then I'm also on the Resources Capital Planning Subcommittee, which right now the big project is the redistrict. And then I'm on a new committee as of this year, 2024, which is the Community Relations Subcommittee.
Excellent. Well,
yeah.
Well, thank you for that. We'll stay in touch with you on those things. Before I let you go, I just, I want to acknowledge, obviously redistricting is really important. It is taking a lot of our time and thought and planning, but it isn't the only thing that's important to the school right now or to the school committee as we're getting near the end of this school year. What are some of the other priorities that you're focused on?
Yes, so I'd say the budget's a big one. We have several meetings coming up about the budget, and so that's the Finance and Personnel Subcommittee is really working hard on that, but the school committee as a whole is also working hard on that. So I would stay tuned because there will be some upcoming meetings in regards to a vote and moving that forward to the city council. So that's a big one, and the policy subcommittee is putting forth a vote on the dress code, which we expect to vote on our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting, which I believe is May 6th. And that will come to vote there. And there's some small changes that'll be noted, and we'll deliberate and talk about that. And then my committee, Student Services and Achievements, our biggest thing we're working on right now is a resolution on affirmation for LGBTQ+ students and staff. And that's to ensure both safety and support of those students and staff inside of our buildings. And we're actively working on a resolution to bring forward to vote for the school committee in the support of. So those are some of the big things that we're working on right now. And yes, please do stay tuned for many upcoming meetings. Just a couple to note: tomorrow we have a special meeting to talk specifically about redistricting, and that'll be at 7 o'clock at the Joyce Middle School. And then there's actually a resource capital planning meeting this Friday, as well as the following Monday. I'm just going to look at my notes because I'm going to forget the dates. May 3rd as well as May 6th. And those will be to talk about some facility updates. And then there's another school committee meeting on May 13th where we expect to talk more about the budget. And then one other thing, it's slightly out of, if you go back to May 9th, the consultant team will actually be here to talk about the redistricting and how they kind of came up with some of the scenarios that they're working on.
Oh, excellent. That's a lot going on. And just for those of you, because people do watch this at various times based on when it's published, the first meeting that Jessie was talking about is April 30th. Am I
Thank you.
correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, so be sure to tune into all of those important discussions and learn more. And we hope to see many of you at the town hall meeting, either in person or virtually, and bring all those questions. There isn't a question, you know, we don't script that. We really take our cue from our audience and the things that you want to ask about. I get to ask questions every week here, but it's really nice that you get to ask questions. And as always, Woburn, please continue to take good care of each other.